Hello everybody, welcome to Fantasy Wednesday. Today we're going to do a spotlight on my book Soul Designers. This is a science fiction novel with a cover by the award-winning artist Kirk DuPont. And I'm very proud of this little book. It actually even won a Realm Makers finalist. Did not win, but we got on stage, and I was very proud of the progress of this little book. Now, today I wanted to answer some questions that I've gotten about the book, and I call myself an accidental science fiction author because the concept for this book was actually born in a fantasy. And I was getting ready to write a fantasy, and as I began to develop the story, it took a left turn and ended up with science fiction elements. So it's kind of a science fantasy, so to speak. But everything that I write is from a faith-based worldview. So it is my goal to encourage other Christian writers and readers to create quality stories and that are based on a foundation of Christ. I don't talk a lot about faith in the book, although the main character does struggle. He has a faith journey from the beginning to end. And you get to go along with him as he tries to figure out why God should care about him, a half-breed. His mother was human, his father was genetically engineered, and that put him in a very strange place because in the world that this book is written in, the humans created genetically engineered slaves. And they made them slaves by taking away their soul. They engineered their DNA so that they had no soul. And so Jack doesn't have a soul. So why should he care about God? And that is his faith journey, even though his mother is a believer and a human. So Jack's goal throughout the book is to find a way to restore the soul to the gens, to his other half, his other people. And I've been asked, how did this story, what made me think of this? How was this story born? And as I mentioned already, the concept first came in a fantasy where I wanted to go with someone who was a half-breed as a main character, who was half human and half something else. And I wrote this book before the pandemic, and it just poured out of me. It was several years before the pandemic, actually. And as I was working for a company at the time, when I finished the manuscript, it sat for a bit. And then when I decided to become a full-time author, this little book manuscript came back to me, and I said, if we're going to do this book, it needs to be done now before it gets too old. And I really wanted to share this book with the world, and so I did. If you've not read Soul Designers, I'm going to pick a little excerpt out of the middle to read to you. This is right in the middle, just to, you can get a flavor for the book. Jack cast his gaze around the room. A tattered couch, a mismatched armchair, and a cheap end table stood in the dim light. No pictures adorned the walls. It occurred to Jack that the lives of these humans were likely no better than many of the gens in the city. He shifted his gaze back to Mr. Macho. So, you been here long? Jack shoved his hands in his pockets and waited for a reply that didn't come. He looked the man over. Talkative sort, aren't you?" And still the man didn't answer. "So, are you planning to feed me to your dogs or what?" Jack wished the man would say anything instead of just standing there glaring at him as if he were to be executed for some horrible crime. "He just might do that," an old woman's voice came from the doorway behind him. Jack spun about to find an elderly woman scowling back at him, the other man standing behind her. She shuffled into the room, shoulders slightly bent, cane grasped in a gnarled fist, and stopped in front of the tattered armchair. With the man's hand supporting her elbow, she lowered herself into the chair. She arranged the cane up against the cushion next to her leg and then clasped her gnarled hands together in her lap. When Mr. Macho saw the woman, a faint look of fondness crossed his face. The other man hovered to one side of the chair, regarding Jack with a guarded look. The way the two men deferred to the old woman reminded Jack of two loyal subjects bowing before a regal queen on her throne. "Who are you and why are you here?" Her voice scratched with age, and yet she spoke with power and confidence. In spite of her advanced years, something about her unsettled Jack, and somehow he knew that if she but said the word, these men would slit his throat without another thought. "Give me one good reason why I shouldn't have my boys take you out in the desert and feed you to the coyotes," she snapped. With a shiver, Jack knew he could easily make good on her threat. From the look on her face, he wondered if he'd ever walk out of this room alive. So that's my little tease for you. If you are interested in the book, you can find it on Amazon. You can find it on my website at donnawatson.com if you want a signed copy. It is available in paperback, in ebook, and in Audible. I had an amazing narrator worked on this book. He did a really good job, so you can get it there as well. So what is next? I am currently working on a new fantasy that's being serialized on Substack. It has been completely rewritten and edited, and I'm now releasing it one chapter at a time on my Substack at donnawatson.substack.com. And I'm also writing a brand new fantasy, Secret Sword, book 1 in the Shadow Wizard Chronicles, which will be a 6-volume story. I'm very, very excited about that one. You will hear more about that. I am currently about a third of the way through that manuscript. So anyways, if you have any questions that you would like me to answer in future episodes, please drop a comment below, and let's have fun doing these spotlights. And next time we'll talk about something else that we're doing on our Author Spotlight Fantasy Wednesday. I hope you have a good day. Take care. Bye.